Hi everyone, this is Trevi Lights. First of all, thank you very much for watching this video and for subscribing to my channel. Here we have some P5 panels, just like these ones. This configuration that you're watching is actually 4 P5 panels, and I have 128 columns by 64 rows. And these P5 panels are used everywhere, airports, stadiums, football games, pretty much everywhere. So I thought, why not try to incorporate some P5 panels into our show? So if you're interested in learning how you can do that, please stay with me and let's get started. So let's watch this next video. So what do you think? Not bad, right? I mean, it's not a 4K resolution, but still pretty decent. So now these P5 panels, they do have a connector called Hub 75 on the back. Unfortunately, Falcon controller, they don't have a Hub 75 type of connector, so we cannot control those P5 panels from a Falcon controller. Now, Kulp controllers do make a couple of controllers that do have a Hub 75 port, so you can control pixels and also a few P5 panels if you wish to. So you can go to their website and check them out at Colorlights.com. So in order to control our P5 panels, we're going to be using this card. This card is a Colorlight 5A75B. This one has 8 ports. We'll take a closer look at this card in a minute. And the whole thing is going to be running out of a Raspberry Pi 4, in my case, running the Falcon player. It's actually the Falcon player who's going to be controlling the P5 panels. So the data is going to come out from an Ethernet port. If you have your Ethernet port already taken by the Falcon controller, don't worry. We're going to be connecting another port using a dongle, an Ethernet dongle, and the data is going to be sent to one of these RJ45 connectors on the P5 controller card. Okay, so again, remember, if you don't have a Falcon controller, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be running from a Raspberry Pi. Okay, so with all this being said, let me show you a little bit more about the card, the panels, and let's start playing with them. So this is a Colorlight card, and as you can see, it has 8 Hub 75 ports. Each of its ports can control 8 P5 panels for a total of 64 panels. So you can pretty much build a matrix 8 by 8 P5 panels. So it has a switch, a button in here. You can cycle through different test cycles. It has the power input, 3.3 volts to 5 volts, either through here or through these other pins. It has these jumpers. This is just in case you want to move this button to the outside of a box, and also some of the LEDs, you can put them out of a box, and that's all there is to it. I mean, there's no other things. So again, we're going to be using 2 of these ports to connect our panels. All right, so this is a close-up view of the P5 panel. The name comes from the distance between pixels is 5 millimeters. We have 64 by 32, so pretty much 2048 pixels in this small area. Now, this version that I have is not weatherproof, so you will need to provide a casing if you want to put it outside. Now, on the back, all we have is all the connections. So pretty much we have the power, which is 5 volts, and then we have the data in and data out. So data comes here, and if you want to put it together, then it's going to have to jump from the output to the input of the other panel. That's all we have. We have these inserts. If you want to, I mean, this is how we call it, hold 2, 4 or more together. So make sure that you got the brackets and the screws. Most of them are sold with all those other pieces. And that's it. Again, this is not weatherproof, so you need to provide a casing. They do sell weatherproof, but obviously the price is way much more. So with that being said, the next video I'm going to show you how we put them all together and how we wire the power and the data from the card. So let's watch that next video. All right, so this is the back view of our panel. So we have the 4 panels. They are held together with 2 side brackets. Then we have a central bracket, and we have these other brackets that are actually holding the car in place and the power supply in place. Now, port number 1 from the card is supplying data to the input port. Then it goes out from here and goes into the second panel. The same thing goes for the second port. It goes into the in port of the panel, and then it goes out this way and goes into the second panel. So basically what we have is 2 rows of 2 panels that are making the whole 4 pieces panel, right? Now, the power supply, we have 2 cables, one positive and one negative, which is split in 2, and they're feeding 2 panels at a time. Same goes for those other 2. We have another 2 cables that are split and they're feeding those 2 panels. So all 4 panels have power supply. Also, we have another cable for power supply for the car itself. And that's pretty much all we have. We're going to be plugging the Ethernet cable to jack number 1, which is the one in the left. And that's pretty much it. Now, this is all the setup is 5 volts. This is a 60 amp power supply, which translates to 300 watts power supply, which is way more than what we need for only 4 panels. So now what I want to show you is the setup that most of you will have if you have a Falcon controller within your show, or if you have a Kulp controller running your show. The Falcon player setup is going to be pretty much the same thing, except for the connections to the Falcon and to the Kulp controller. So let's watch that next video. Okay, so this is the setup if you were running your show from a Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi has only one Ethernet connection, which should be running your Falcon controller, which means that you need a second Ethernet connection to run your board for your P5 panels. Now, remember that this dongle, which is USB to an Ethernet, needs to be a gigabyte type of dongle, right? Otherwise, it's not gonna work. And basically, you will have your cable, which will be sending data to your Falcon, and the other will be sending data to your panels. If you don't have a Falcon controller, well, that's okay. If you have a Raspberry Pi 3 Plus, this one has a gigabyte, so you can pretty much connect to directly, which means that you don't even need a Falcon if you are only going to run some P5 panels, okay? So this is pretty much the setup that you will have, you will need to have if you want to run a show with a Raspberry Pi. And I will talk more about this within the video, okay? So now let me show you what will be the setup if you have a Kulp controller, which is running out of a BeagleBone. So let's see the next video. All right, so this is a Kulp controller running your show. So let me explain the differences that we have from the Raspberry Pi. So basically we have a Kulp controller K8B. I'm running my show now from this device. This one has a BeagleBone Black on the bottom. It's a cape to the BeagleBone, so it's a direct connection. So there's no need to use the Ethernet. Unfortunately, this Ethernet port is not a gigabyte. So we need to use an external dongle, just like we do with Raspberry Pi if you are running a Falcon. So basically, the BeagleBone has a USB port, which I'm running this hub. This hub has the sound card because the BeagleBone comes with no sound card, and the Wi-Fi because it also lacks of a Wi-Fi. But by doing this, I now have sound and the Wi-Fi enabled, and I'm using an extra port to connect the gigabyte dongle to send the data to the card, which is going to control the P5 panels. So basically, the BeagleBone runs the show, and the Ethernet is going to run the it's going to run the panels P5, okay? So that's the difference between the Pi setup and a BeagleBone setup, or a Kulp running from a BeagleBone, all right? Now, we're going to move on to the setup that we need to do for the card itself, and then for the Falcon player, all right? So now let's see these other videos. All right, guys, so now the fun starts. I am in my garage and I have a view of my panels with another camera. And now what we need to do is establish communication between your computer or laptop to the panels, so we can configure that Colorlight card and let it know what type of P5 panels it has connected. These cards can control many different type of cards, so we need to let them know the type of cards that we have. To do so, we need to establish a communication using an Ethernet cord between your computer and the card. In my case, I have an old computer and does not has a gigabyte card. So what I did is I got a USB to Ethernet 1 gigabyte of speed a dongle, so I can connect to that card. So I'm gonna plug in the Ethernet cord, and I'm gonna plug it into my computer. Hopefully it will get recognized, and now I will establish a connection between my computer and the card. Now, for this, we're gonna use the L.E.D Vision 8.5 version software that you need to install in your computer, so we can establish that communication and upload the settings. So pause the video, download that software. It's on the comments of my description of this video. Download the 8.5, don't go any higher. This is proven to work really good. So let's do that. I already have installed it in my computer, so I'm gonna open it up and we started doing the configuration. Okay, now since I already done this configuration once, it might probably work for me, so we'll see how it goes for you. Now, the main goal is to display these logos that you have on the bottom. This is a screen that shows up in that P5 panel. So we need to start doing some configuration. Nothing show up, so we still need to find out why it's not displaying. And it's not going to work for you at the first time. I mean, believe me, it takes quite a few tries to get these things up and running. These things are, well, they're electronics, okay? So usually they don't work at the first time, okay? So let's move on and see if we can make it work. So the first thing, we're going to go into the control panel and go into the screen size and count settings. Here, the only thing we need to let them know is the width and the height. So we have 264 panels, that's 128, and then we have a height of 2 panels. Each panel is 32, so the height is 64. Now, all you have to do is change these two values, 128 to 164, and if I put 128, you will see that the screen just grows, but mine is 64, such as yours. Click apply, and that's it. Okay, so that's all we have to do in here. Now click apply, and then let's move to the next section. Now go to the control and LED screen settings. The password is 168. Initializing. Oh, I got lights. Okay, so this is the goal. This is the goal for you. You need to display whatever shows in that little screen into the panel. So I got it already configured, so that's why it's probably show. If it doesn't show for you, don't worry, we'll still need to do a lot of configuration. So now go and select the net card option and make sure that use net card is selected, and then click auto select. This will try to find the Ethernet connections that you have on your computer. So it found the USB to gigabyte Ethernet adapter. So I'm going to choose this one. And now, when you click the detect receiver card, it should go and search for the card. And if it finds it, it will display in here. If it doesn't show, this is where the fun starts. Okay? Check your cables, unplug everything, plug it back in, restart your computer, remove the software, reinstall the software with your card connected. Try different things, okay? And believe me, it's not going to work the first time, but sooner or later it will work, okay? So if I click the detect receiver, it did found it for me, okay? It took me an hour to make this thing work, okay? So try it a few times. So when this is done, when you can see the card, you're good to go. Now we have established a connection. Now let's move into the receiver parameters. Now we need to let them know the size again and the type of card that we have. And there's a lot of settings, refresh rates, grade level, things that we don't know, right? So we need to try a few settings and see which ones work. Now, on the back of your panel, you might find some information, or you may not. Chances are that this is going to be a 16-bit refresh rate card and things like that. So we need to try a few things, okay? So first of all, we're going to tell them that is the width 128 and the height is 64 again. And now we can try two things. Let's go with the load first. So you're going to click load and then go into preset parameters. See if you can find the brand of your panels. If they don't show, then go for the full color general parameter and start playing around with some of these values. The one that worked for me and probably is going to work for you is a full color 16 scan. So click on that one and it will modify these values in here, and you can try now save to receiver. Yes, this will send all this data to the receiver. You can see it down here, and maybe, just maybe, it will work and you will have a signal. You will see this on your panels. If not, don't worry, we'll still have to do some more settings, okay? Now click OK. Now to make sure, or if it shows something but it's not the same, then we need to go and try the intelligent settings, okay? So now, again, is 64 and height. And now it's going to ask you a few questions, and depending on what we see on the screen is what we answer on screen, right? So click next. It's going to say is one displays black and two white. If I go to one, it's black, and two is white. Yes. So click next. Is one darker than two? So this is one. Yeah, it is. One is darker than two. The colors, the first one is red, this is green, this is blue, and this is black. If not, just change the colors to match what you're seeing. And then click next. Do we have 16 rows lit? Yes, we have 16 rows lit. So go and count them. Do we have only one row? Yes. Okay. And now this screen might show different in your computer. So what you have to do is just make sure that we have established a route. So click on the first one and then do Shift right arrow and then down arrow. So select all. You can do it with the mouse, but don't skip anything. If you miss something, then try it again. Okay. And once we're there, then click Finish. Maybe by now you will have something on screen. If not, save to receivers again. One more step. If you don't still see this on screen. Go to the receiver mapping. Select it and make sure that you also have 128 by 64. Otherwise, change those values to match whatever your configuration is. In our case, 128 by 64. Make sure you selected it. Okay. And all you have to do again is just send and save to devices. Okay. So it's sending again to our controller. And that's it. Hopefully you will have this on screen. If not, after doing all this configuration, close the application, okay, and reopen it again. And see, at this moment, you can see what I'm looking at the P5 screens, okay. If I roll my mouse, you should see the mouse rolling on top, okay. Okay, guys, so try this over and over and over until it works, okay. You need to have this working in order to move to the Falcon player, okay. So pause the video and try it until you get it. I wish I had some other answers to you, but sometimes it is what it is. You know, it takes time to get this configured, all right. So once you got it working, now it's time to move into the next video, okay. So now let's look at it. Alright, so now we have the FPP open. So this is the Falcon player. This is version 7.1, which is the latest at the time of this video. So I have a picture here of the layout that I have. So I have the Raspberry Pi and the Falcon controller sitting next to each other. Now there's two Ethernet cables. The white one is connected to the Falcon controller, and that's going to be playing the pixels. And the black Ethernet cord is going to the P5 Colorlight controller, okay. So again, the Falcon is not running the P5s, is actually the Raspberry Pi which is sending the data now to both, to the Pixel controller and to the P5s, okay. Now when you connect the dongle, which is the second Ethernet, just go back and see which one is Ethernet 0 and which one is Ethernet 1. In my case, they switch, so I have to switch the cables. It's up to you, you know, just look before you start testing, otherwise you're going to be sending data to the wrong port, okay. So I have a camera again showing the panels. So let's start doing the configuration. So first of all, we're going to go into the input output setup, and we're going to go into the channel output. So if you're running your show from your Pi, you should have an entry like this. This is the IP address of my Falcon controller, and I'm using 48,960 channels. So why is it on the E131? Because my Pi is sending the data of my show to the Falcon controller. So these channels are already occupied by the Pi sending data to the Falcon controller. And I'm using Ethernet 0, okay. If I ping it, it should come back with success. And there we go, 3 packets sent, 3 received, okay. So my connection is active, Ethernet 0. Now on the top you should have this LED panels option, so let's go into that one. So now we're gonna make sure that it's enabled. The connection is a Colorlight card, and this one is on Ethernet 1, okay. The panel layout is 2 by 2. You will see how it changed at the bottom. And this card is what we have plugged is a 64 by 32. Let's try this 1/8 of a scan. And I'm gonna click auto layout. I'm gonna go for a yes. And on the bottom it says that output 1 has panel 1 and then panel 2, which is the way we have it, and the output 2 of the Colorlight has panel 1 and panel 2, and that's how we have it configured. So I'm going to save this configuration. I'm going to have to restart the daemon. And once it's restarted, if everything is fine, and I click test pattern, we should see this. So this is output 1, panel 1, output 1, panel 2, output 2, panel 1, output 2, panel 2. So if you got this, you have successfully made communication between the FPP and your P5 panels. Now, so now that we have configured this, let me stop the pattern. So now what we can do is see if we can connect from Xlights. Now let's make it work, right? Right now the communication is established, but let's go into Xlights because I do want to show you the configuration from Xlights, okay? So let me get things ready and we'll move right into that part. Alright guys, so I have Xlights open on the back and let me show you this. So I have my layout. This is what I have right now, and I'm going to show you two ways that you can set up Xlights to talk to your P5 panel. Try it both and see which one works for you or which one you like the most. It's up to you, it's up to you, the configuration of your Falcon player and your setup of which one might work, okay? So I'm going to go into the controllers tab, and chances are that you're going to have an inventory just like I do. I have 96 channels, universes defined for a total of 48,960 channels, which means that when I play something from Xlights, we're going to have 48,000 channels going out to whatever receiver, or Falcon player is ready to get all this information, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my layout, and I'm going to use the new matrix, and I'm going to place it right here. These are going to be our P5s. So I'm going to change the name to be P5 panels. This is going to be 64 strings, which are the vertical horizontal rows that we have, and each of that has 128 pixels, which is all the columns that we have, and it's one string, okay? And here we have a very dense P5 panels sitting just right there, okay? Now I'm gonna tell it that I don't have a controller. Oh, before that, so you see how my last channel, I have it sorted by channel. So my last channel is 19,529, which means that I can use any channel after that number. So I'm gonna tell Xlights that I'm gonna use the start channels, and that my matrix starts in 20,000. Okay, which is just a few channels after 19,000. So now I'm telling Xlight to send data to channels 20,000 to my panels, right? And I'm gonna click save. Now, how many channels do I need for this P5 matrix? Okay, so if I have 128 columns times 64, I have 8,192 pixels. If I multiply that by 3, because it's red, green, and blue, 3 channels per pixel, I need just over 24,000 channels. If I add that number to the 19,000 that I already have, let's do 19,600. I need as much as 44,000 channels, which is still okay because on my controllers I have 48. So I'm using just under, still under 48,000, which means that as I send data out, it's going to go through those channels, okay? So should work. All right, so having set up Xlights, I'm going to go now to my Falcon player. And on the L.E.D panels, I'm going to say that my matrix starts in channel 20,000. So you see what I'm doing, right? I'm telling Xlight to send data for my P5 on channel 20,000, and I will let him know the Falcon that my panels starts in 20,000, right? So I'm gonna click save and gonna restart the daemon so it reads all the settings that I just did, and hopefully if I send something from Xlights it should work. So if I go to start a new sequence, animation, 20 frames, done. I'm gonna select a butterfly effect and I'm gonna drag it and drop it on my panels. Okay, well, they're not here. Let me scroll down a bit. Oh, there they are. So now P5, I click on it, and if everything goes fine, when I click this output to lights, it should work. Let's try it. And there we go. We got something going on the panels. Now it is playing okay. It's just that it's too bright for the camera. It's not refreshing the way it should. Let me stop it. Let me try with a picture. So I'm gonna delete this. I'm gonna try a picture. Let's see if I have a picture on my computer of something. Browse. Well, this is a picture of my house. We can try this one. So okay, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna put a scale to fit, and there it is. So if I select it and I send it out, we should get a picture, and there it is. Good resolution. All right, so this is one way of setting up your P5 controllers, okay, by using, your P5 panels by using the channel. There's a second way. Let me show you to that. I'm going to pause the video real quick and I'll be right back with you. I just want to make sure that I got everything set up properly, okay? Okay guys, I'm back. So let's try this second option. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to the controller tab, and now I'm going to enter a new Ethernet connection. All right, so I'm going to add an Ethernet, and this one is going to be, the vendor is Falcon player FPP. The model is going to be L.E.D panels. I'm just going to scroll down. The IP address. The IP address is actually the Wi-Fi IP address of my Raspberry Pi, because I don't have, my show is separated from my network. I don't have a physical connection between my router and my Raspberry Pi, and this is because I have it on the garage and it's far away from my router. And this is okay because I only use the Wi-Fi for testing purposes, and then when everything is running the way I find it, then upload the sequence to my player and I play it from there, okay? So the IP address is going to be 10.0.0.86, okay, and make sure that the protocol is DDP, and that's it, okay. I'm going to save it. Oh, and let's change this to be P5 panels, okay, and save it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go into my layout, click on my panels, and now instead of using start channel, I'm going to put this to 0. I'm going to tell it discard this message. I'm going to tell it that I'm going to be using the P5 panel Ethernet connection that I just defined, right? And I'm going to click save. So now let's see if we can reach it by this other way. But before we can do that, I'm going to go to my Falcon player and tell it that it starts on channel number 1. I'm going to save it. I'm going to restart the daemon. And once it's started, we can try it out. Okay, ready. Now I'm going to go back to Xlights. And let's give it a try. So now if I go and do a sequence, animation, quick start, I'm done. If I drag and drop the butterfly effect, oh, I need to scroll up a little bit. There it is. To my P5. Oh, that is not the one. There's one up. Right there, my panels. Let's try it, see if it works. And it also works. Okay. So guys, this is what I wanted to show you, how you can actually add a P5 panel to your show. It's not that complicated, it's just that sometimes this electronic stuff doesn't work at the first time. So give it a try, play around with it, and I hope you have fun with it, alright? So thank you very much again for watching this video. Give the thumbs up to this video, and I'll see you real soon. Thank you.